Hey, y'all. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to you. I am elated to have all of you here. You are here watching, viewing, streaming, participating in the Google Basic series for Black Multiverse Enterprises. And we are presenting our Skill Up program. And so we are really excited to have you watching with us today. We're going to be getting started here very shortly. And we just want to encourage everyone to, no matter where you are, to take a minute, grab a piece of paper or your favorite laptop or your tablet or other device that you're going to write something down on, and make sure that you have a way to take some notes so that you can help to prepare and prep for an interview, as well as improvements with your resumes. That's what we're talking about today. So we're going to go to a few of our other sponsors, and then we will be getting started shortly. Good morning. Hi. Welcome, everybody. I am really excited to have everyone here this morning. Today, we're going to be talking about resumes. So, man, everybody has had to complete a resume at some point or another. Most of us have had to do this. You may have had someone else do it for you, but you know that the process can be daunting. It can be a process that is nerve-wracking for you as an individual, and trying to find the right way to do something, the right way to word something, to keep up with the algorithm so that your resume stays relevant. that is something you have to do every single time that you iterate in a job or a position that you're moving up or you're moving beyond. It is something that you always have to do. So, man, today we are going to be talking about improving your resume with some practical strategies. My name is Nicole Maxwell, and I am delighted to have you here with us. Do me a favor, we are just getting started. I do have this broadcast in many, many different places, so I want to just acknowledge some of those places right now. And so one of those places is the Pod TV. We are also broadcasting on the Black Business Network, as well as on Black Multiverse TV and Blackverse TV. So hello to all of those different communities out there. So if you're watching us on Hulu, on Roku, on Pod TV, if you're watching on LinkedIn or YouTube, please do me a favor. And or even if you're listening on Spotify or iHeartRadio or any of the other places that Max Distro has us out on, we are everywhere. And so wherever you are, just take a minute, a little second out of your day, and push that like button. Be sure to like and to subscribe to this broadcast, because my name is Nicole Maxwell. I am the CEO of Black Multiverse Enterprises. I am the founder of the Blackverse Metaverse community, and I am also the owner of Technical Consulting. All of those things are dedicated to helping support the education and training of people to help us get into the metaverse that is coming and being built up. And so I spend my days talking about the future and what that actually looks like for everybody to just begin to explore. What could this possibly mean for me and for my business and for me as an individual? So those are our different things. Thank you, Dan. Hey, so it is good to see everybody popping into the comments. If you're here, please do leave us a comment. We love seeing those. Awesome. So it is really good to just be able to connect with everybody, and we appreciate you all for being here, for popping in for however long you can stay with us today. Do me a favor and just know that you are not limited to just this broadcast, because this is being recorded. So we want you to watch us live. We want you to participate if you're in our Google Meet, which is going to be starting here shortly. If you're in the Google Meet, or if you are watching us in any one of those other areas, please know that you are able to tap into us in many different ways, but you're also going to be able to watch this on Black Multiverse TV. So if you go to blackmultiverse.live, you will be able to tap in to the actual broadcast there. So you're going to be able to do all of those things and make sure that you are up and running with us. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you for tapping in. All right, let's get started. Thank you. All right, so be sure that if you have questions as we're going through things, to go ahead and pop them into the chat. We're going to go ahead and get started. And so let me just present our slide deck here for you. All right. Okay, so again, my name is Nicole Maxwell. Black Multiverse is a proud gold level, high impact partner with Grow with Google. And so we have partnered up with Google to bring education to the community. This is what we are calling a skill up program. Ever since the end of September, we have been providing different sessions every Tuesday and every Thursday from 10 a.m. to noon. And we carve out this time to allow people to join us in a variety of different ways, as well as to be able to tap into the training and just get, kind of either a refresher or some new information that they may not have known before. And so in all of those different things, we are definitely excited to have everyone here as well. So with that being said, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get our Discord started. All right. So, all right, with that being said, let's go ahead and get through this. All right. So today we're going to be talking about how to improve your resume strategies and turn them into practical strategies that are winning. Um, so let's talk about what we're going to go over today. So first of all, we're going to have a quick glance at our resume and evaluations. How does that process actually work? So ATS is called the Applicant Tracking System. It's usually that kind of first. It's really a parsing engine, but it takes your resume and it looks at that resume and helps to decide whether or not you're a viable candidate and if you should be sent on to an actual human resources manager to review. From there, you're going to learn some interesting strategies to help you improve your resume. And of course, we're going to give you some resources. All right. So we're going to dive into 4 strategies that help you make your resume better. That's going to be everything from professional formatting to highlighting your skills and your accomplishments, and then being able to cite specific examples and some measurable details, things that you're going to be able to do to tailor your resume to your job search without going crazy, right? For each strategy, we're going to practice editing a resume. So I'm going to share some digital tips that'll help you to make your resume writing a bit easier, right? At the outset of this session, you're going to be ready to create your own resume or possibly even apply these resume strategies to an existing resume, right? So you're going to be able to go, right? That's what we want. All right, so think about it. How much time do you take thinking about what an employer sees on your resume? When you think about the purpose of a resume, how much time do you think your employer is going to be spending looking at it? Some experts say 5 minutes, others say 10 minutes, some say 30 minutes, but that's because you're on this side of it. So you know that you've taken this time and you've created this resume and you assume that people are going to read it. But guess what? Most recruiters and most employers spend 6 to 10 seconds, not minutes, looking at your resume. The goal of a resume is to showcase your skills and your accomplishments that you have. It's to make your employer want to give you a call, right? Like we all want to get that interview. You want to convince them that you're a good fit for the job, something that you're applying for. And you don't need to know everything that they don't need to know, everything that you've ever done in life, right? But they do need to know that you can accomplish what they need you to accomplish. So I am in a great position right now. Black Multiverse is hiring. And so this definitely rings true. So as we're going through today's presentation, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience so far with trying to fill some of the roles that we have open. And so I have 10 positions open. First of all, for anybody who's listening to this, we have at least 10 positions open. We're going to have even more at the beginning of the year. So I am hiring. And I will tell you that 10-second rule, it's the real deal. First of all, you took time to apply, but so did everybody else. Right now, there are so many tools out here that people are using that get their resumes through the door very, very fast. But that means that my inbox just fills up and up and up and up and up. I opened up a position, our inside sales position. And that within 24 hours, I had over 130 applicants. And so when you think about that and you think about the fact that this isn't my full-time thing, like, so hiring is not a full-time job for me. I'm not a staffing recruiter. I still have other things that I'm doing, right? So I literally had to carve out an hour to go through that. So if you think about that, then that literally means I didn't have a lot of time to spend on resumes, or to review resumes. Plus I had to then go off and actually contact people, the ones that I was interested in, to set up that interview. So think about the process, not from your perspective, but from the other side of it. How can you make your resume stand out, right? All right, so here we go. Even before the recruiter sees your resume, most companies are using what we call ATS. That is Applicant Tracking Systems, and that sorts through your resume, okay? So in general, it's a type of software that goes through the resume and selects which ones it can pass on to the human. So it's technology that is acting in place of an actual position, technically speaking, because back in the day, there was someone who actually did this role. ATS is extremely helpful, I'm not gonna lie, but it helps to streamline the process, and it allows them to quickly track and review and identify candidates. What this means, though, for you as a candidate is that if you want a recruiter to ever see your resume, it has to make it through an ATS screen, okay? ATS systems cannot look at a resume and be thoughtful. It cannot look at a resume and say, oh, there's something more here. It can't look at a resume and say there's even a disability at work inside of this resume. It has to be objective, and it has to send off the resumes that meet the criteria that the recruiter supplied, okay? So they might wind up eliminating resumes if it's something due to formatting or to other issues that can help them, help the tracker read the resume. It's unfortunate because I know that I've been the victim of this, but I've also been on the other side of this. So I designed a system that actually did this. So I have a lot of input to help with this actual process and what it kind of looks like. These are really really true, true tips. And I mean, it's very relevant. This is what's happening to your resume. So we have a lot of considerations when we're thinking about the resume. Here's a few tips that'll help your resume to make it through an ATS reader. All right. So look at the image on the right, the green one. It's very green. You're going to want to make sure that you're using the right file type. Okay. So when you're thinking of these file types, docs, DOCX is what I'm saying, DOCX, or PDF file. Use those. Now, we're all about Google today, so you're going to be able to use Google Docs to create your resume, format it the way that it needs to be formatted, and then submit it as a PDF or as a doc file, a DOCX file. All right. So make sure that you're using the download function, and we'll go through that shortly. Since ATS is scanning your resume for keywords, which are, words that are relevant to the position, it can often be confused by fonts, by graphics, and even by certain tables, as well as columns and text boxes. If an ATS cannot read your resume, which means that it's reading and parsing the information on your resume, it automatically gets rejected, automatically. So keep your formatting extremely simple, right? Keep your formatting simple. And then you're going to want to, we'll be showing you some of the templates that we have that work really, really well with ATS systems. Side note, because I'm in the DMV area, there are also templates that work really, really well with government jobs because those ATS readers are a little bit different. The functionality is the same, but they're looking for different things. The technology that I developed is actually in use in the government contracting and proposal process. In that process, just so you guys know, inside of that process, when you're bidding on a federal contract, there is something as a part of that, what we call a proposal. There's a volume inside of there called a resume volume. And so it takes all the resumes and puts them together and submits them on behalf of the company, because the company's saying, we're able to do this job and here's why. And so if you're an employee in one of those organizations, it's taking your information and putting it into a proposal, and that proposal's resume volume includes your resume. And there's some really great formats that work really, really well for government jobs. But even in those, so what I did was create a way for us to have an ATS type of reader for that actual function. So creating the resume volume. All right. So a little bit different, but it still works the same way. So it's things that you absolutely need to be aware of. Okay. All right. So keywords. The systems on the right are shown. Those are ATS readers. So the system shows ATS or job listings, so your keywords, I'm sorry. When the ATS detects that there are keywords in your resume, it's going to flag you as a qualified candidate. So as long as you have these words or words that are similar, it will flag you in the list, and you'll be shuffled off to be reviewed by the human. All right. You should adjust each resume to reflect the words that they're actually using in your job listing, because otherwise it's not a match. All right. Headers and footers. So in this recommendation, they're saying that ATS systems cannot read your headers and your footers very well. So make sure that you don't put any critical information, like that's the only place you have contact information. Don't do that. You want to make sure that your contact information is up at the top where it's always at. Now that you understand how an ATS works, you're going to be able to make choices that help to ensure your resume is going to get through the ATS tracking system, and also in front of a human reader. Now, for the rest of the workshop, we're going to be focusing on how to impress that recruiter. All right, so this challenge might take you a minute, but we're going to have like a really cool challenge right now. So let's start. Imagine that you are a hiring manager. You're looking for someone who's going to be filling a position. You know that what you're looking for, but you're busy and there's a million other things on your to-do list. So now you're trying to get through this large stack of resumes. Imagine you printed them out, and you got lunch in 30 minutes. Okay. These resumes have already made it through the ATS. Now we'll do an activity to help you get a sense of how resumes make a first impression. For this activity, make sure you have a pen and a paper nearby, or something digital to write your notes on, like a phone, or your little tablet. So we're going to take a look at a job description, and then we're going to give you 6 examples of resumes. And you're going to have about 7 seconds to look at each one and then process what you've seen. All right. So I'm going to try to flip through this as soon as I can. Right. All right. So I want you to write down one word that's going to describe the resume. And then I want you to decide with a quick yes or a no if you'd like to spend some more time on it. And then we'll move over to the next resume. Okay. So you can write down your word, so that one word that you are walking away with on this resume, and then you're going to say yes or no. Okay, so yes or no for each resume that we're about to review. All right. So here's the job description along with some of the skills that you might be looking for. All right, ready? So we seek a high performer to join our sales team. The successful candidate will be a responsible, motivated sales associate with proven experience. This person will manage the entire sales cycle, identifying sales needs, locating and expanding new markets, designing and delivering sales presentations, presiding over negotiations. To meet or exceed personal departmental goals, this person will need an excellent customer service representative with an entrepreneurial worldview, business acumen, and professional sales philosophy. Okay, so let's keep this description in mind as we are reviewing the following resumes, okay? If you're looking at this on a smaller screen, go ahead and maximize or zoom in on the window so it's larger, if you can. If not, I'll try to read what we can see, right? If you're just taking a quick scan, identify whether or not you'd want to know more about the applicant. So just look at the resume and just say, give it that 10-second look and see what you come out with. You don't need to remember all the details about the job. In fact, when you're looking at the resumes really, really quickly, it'll help you mimic what those hiring managers are doing as they're working. So take a quick scan of the resume, jot down your first impressions. And like the purpose of this is so that you can see what's happening on the other end. So you know what the actual, the recruiters are doing. So if you'd like to look at these resumes more closely, you can download them from our resources tab, and I'll give you all that information at the end. All right. All right. So number one, this is Asha's resume. Write down a word or two about your impressions of this resume. So let me go look at it because I got to do this differently. Okay. All right, so that's going to be 10 seconds. All right, next we have Adam's resume. Write down your quick impression of Adam's resume and what you're walking away with when you think about Adam. Next up, we have Titus. Titus's resume. Write down your impressions. All right, next up, we have Jason. Jason's resume. And Liana. Liana. And then finally, Ibrahim. All right. Okay, so let's move on. Now that you had a second to do that, that's literally what happens, right? Like the resume loads and then you have a second to review it. You either get to check yes or no, and then you move on. All right, so let's talk about strategies. All right, so now, while there's no one way to write a resume, and Lord knows we know that, there are many different resume styles and formats that might be appropriate, more appropriate than the other for the job that you're actually applying for. Today, we're going to be focusing on 4 key things that'll help you to strengthen your resume. First of all, we're going to choose a professional format. Then we're going to highlight your skills and your accomplishments. And then we're going to take it to specific examples and some measurable details. And then finally, you're going to tailor your resume to fit a specific job description. We'll return these sample resumes throughout the workshop, okay? Let's go with a professional format. All right, the format that you're going to be choosing for your resume it'll vary depending on the type of resume that you're applying for. A traditional resume, like Akasha's resume on the left, has a standard white background and a classic font and organizational structure. For a more creative field, you may want to submit a resume with less traditional design and formats like Ibrahim's on the right. The resume uses more colors overall and has a unique organizational structure, including career details and 2 separate columns. All right, you guys, so we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be looking at the different formats that we have available to us to utilize for creating our resumes. All right, stay tuned. All right. So we are back and we are looking at Ibrahim's resume. The format that you are choosing for your resumes is really super important. The resume that you are going to submit needs to be customized or tailored a little bit to the job that you're applying for. A traditional resume, like Asha's resume, which you're seeing on the left, has a standard white background and a classic font, as well as a traditional organization structure, right? For a more creative field, you might want to submit a resume with a less traditional design and a less traditional format. Something like Ibrahim's on the right. This resume is going to use more colors overall and has a unique organizational structure that includes career details in two separate columns. As you saw in the quick glance activity, there are many, many different ways to create and write a resume, and none of them are incorrect. But as you viewed each resume, you most likely noticed several issues that hiring managers also see during their interviews and their reviews of resumes, okay? Things that can distract from your resume getting seen or being moved on to the actual interviewer. One of the most important things that you're going to need to remember is that your resume should be professional, organized, and easy to read. That's really important. Please, just talking from experience, that is super important. Having a well-designed resume that is free of errors is extremely important in making sure that you have a good first impression, and that if a hiring manager is only going to be able to spend a few seconds on each resume, that they are able to select yours and give it a second look. You don't want them to be thrown off or to get a bad impression just because of formatting or spelling errors. Here are some really key attributes that you're going to want to be mindful of when you're creating your resume. So first of all, be sure to include wide margins. Wide margins with a lot of white space. The white space is the space that's on the page that isn't going to be filled with text or graphics. The reason you're doing that is so that it gives your resume room to actually be read. Uh, Sometimes you can convolute a resume just by putting too much in too many different spaces. And so you're not drawing the reader's eye to anything specifically. All right. You're going to want to make sure that your resume is simple and that it's using an easy to read format. Okay, so we talked about formatting quite a bit. You're going to want to use clear headings and then choose an appropriate font. So the go-to font for literally everything on the planet, which drives me absolutely insane, is Arial. And so Times New Roman is also another one that people are using. Helvetica, not so much. And then, you have a lot of these other fonts that are becoming more widely acceptable, like Open Sans, and some of the other sans types of formats. But you want to make sure that it's something that's readable. Try to avoid things that are like curly cues or in the scripts, in the TypeScript type of scripts. All right. All right. So the image on the right shows Asha's resume. It's professionally formatted with clear headings and a plain font and very wide margins. So you can see where your eye is drawn to. There's a pop of color, and it makes it really easy to review her resume and say, oh, okay, well, at least she knows how to create a resume. And so that's one thing that I also look for is when I'm looking at a resume, if I'm putting this person in a position where they're going to be actually watching, or I'm sorry, creating documents for me. Why would I go with somebody who does not create a document that stands out, and that document is the one thing that they're walking in the door with that gets me to notice them? So those are the kind of things that I look for because it correlates to me, to the individual behind the scenes. So be mindful of that, especially when you're using someone else and their style to create your own resume. All right, so now we're going to look at Jason's resume. This resume is packed full of information, and not all of it is relevant to his position. Okay, so this position is the only one as a recruiter, as an interviewer, as the CEO of a company that I care about. I am trying to hire for my company. And some of this other stuff that you did, like for other interviewers, that's going to be great. Like, don't get me wrong, there's people who really, really are interested in the stuff you did 40 years ago. But we need relevant information. We need to know you can do the job, and we need to know that you have kind of the ability to consolidate, especially when that's going to be your job. So if you're looking at more of a technical type of job, and maybe you have less experience in the workforce, then you're going to need to fluff up your resume a little bit to make it relevant to be seen, and not be solely judged on the fact that you are out of high school, right? So just out of high school. All right. So each of you is multi-talented. We all have a whole bunch of different experiences and interests. And so that's kind of what I was saying. You certainly could add it to your resume. It certainly could flavor what you're doing, but it's more important to only include details that are going to be relevant to the position you're applying for. It's not necessary to include additional links to social media profiles or websites, with some exceptions. So if you're applying for a social media manager role, they kind of want to know that you know how to do social media. If you are a designer or a writer or an artist or something that involves you being an influencer, and that is the way that it correlates to the job, then those social media links will need to be added. I want to give you a note of caution, though, because once you give someone your social media link, you're inviting them to actually go check it out. So if that social media link is full of bikini pictures, or you know, in not so good lights, you might not want them out there. You may want that to be something they're discovering on their own, if at all, right? So maybe keep it private. The most notable challenge with your resume is how difficult it can be to read it. Too much information crowds it, too little information gets you kicked out the door. So you have to find a really good balance to writing your resume and what you're going to be presenting to any given position. All right. Okay. Now on Adam's resume, this resume is too sparse. Okay, so wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah. So those kinds of things exist on Jason's resume. We called those out. Now, on Adam's resume, he's got not enough information here. There's way too much white space, and the emptiness that happens to be on this page could give the experience that, or the impression that he doesn't have the experience to do the job, right? So unless this is an entry-level position and anybody could do this, we may want to have some more information. Adam's resume doesn't include details about the responsibilities or his accomplishments at the other job. It's leaving too much to be discovered, right? Like, I don't have enough information to make a decision, and neither does an ATS reader. Don't assume that the employer who's reading your resume will know exactly what you did at each job just because you had a certain job title. You don't want to miss an opportunity to highlight your successful projects or your expanded responsibilities or your measurable accomplishments. Sometimes your work experience, it isn't the only area of your resume where you're going to be able to showcase your accomplishments. You can get really creative. So think about your certifications, of course. Think about your awards, any volunteer work that you've done, part-time jobs, continuing education classes, things that make you more qualified than someone else. Put those on your resume, especially if you don't have a lot of other information to add in terms of experience. All right, so Titus's resume, you may have found it a little distracting. And depending on your industry, it might be. For those of you who are like me, this resume stood out because I instantly resonated with it. It was like, oh, there's green here. He likes the color green. That's cool. To me, that would have been a plus. But for other jobs, other roles, it is definitely not. If you happen to get with a hiring manager or recruiter who is more inclined to be a little bit more old school, they don't want to see colors. They don't want to see too many fonts. They want your name to be bolded, and that's about it, right? So you have to really maybe do your research on the organization and find out who's who behind the scenes if you can, and kind of what their likes and dislikes are. Check out their LinkedIn's. If you can come up with the name of the hiring manager, go out to their LinkedIn and check out kind of what's their writing style like. Maybe that's a good indication for how they're going to be able to support and fulfill a role. But if they're doing it in teams, my old position when I was director of professional services, we did everything when it came to hiring as a team. Like I would get to select the people I wanted to see, but then like 3 people would interview that same person. And it was so that we had a good fit for the organization and that we all had approval of anybody that was coming in. We were very small. So there's different ways of doing things at different organizations. I can tell you firsthand that I got so many complaints about people not liking that process. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You asked us for a job, that kind of thing. So be mindful that you're going to go through these different experiences for sure. Depending on your geographic location and the type of job you're applying to, whether or not you put a photo on your resume may or may not be a standard practice. Some parts of South Asia, South America, Asia, Africa, Europe, they all require that you have a photo on the resume. However, if you were applying for a job in, the U.S., depending on the industry, that might not have been a good idea. Especially, given certain tensions, whether they're political, and then the type of picture that you put up there, that definitely is going to have an impact. So even if you are putting a picture, make sure that that picture is obviously professional. And but that can also be judged. So if you're going to an environment that is super casual, and that's the role that they want you to play, if you happen to provide a resume that isn't super casual, or a picture on your resume that isn't super casual, that can get judged as well. So just be mindful that there's a lot of things, pros and cons behind putting a photo or not putting a photo. This one is a peeve. It's definitely a peeve for me, but did you notice some typos on this resume? You're going to want to make sure that you are taking the time to proofread, to review your resume for not only spelling errors, but grammatical errors. I have a gentleman in my realm, and he writes for a living. He's a writer, but he writes in this specific format that drives me absolutely batty. And if I were getting a resume from him, I would kick it out immediately because I know how he would format it. So think about those kinds of things and make sure that you're standard, but that you also stand out, right? So make sure that you are preventing errors and things on your resume. There's a lot of tools that can help you with this. Google has them built in. Anytime that you have a resume or any document that has some spelling errors on it, Google will highlight them for you. But it's up to you to make sure that those resumes, that those errors are corrected. Now, let me give you another tip that we're not going to talk about. So let's say that you actually had some spelling errors and you did not resolve those, but then you submitted that resume to the system. And let's say that you did a document. So you did the docx format, so Word format, right? When I open that resume, it does the same thing. So I'm going to see all the errors that you left there, and I instantly know that you left them there. So clean up your errors. Make sure that you turn on spell check if it's not on. Use additional tools if you need to. But it is definitely in your benefit to do that and to just think about the process that's happening after that resume is received. All right. Now, Ibrahim. Ibrahim's resume reflects his background, and it's his background because he is a graphic and web designer. It is a clear and clean layout with a whole lot of blank space. And it looks good. There's a few things about this that I personally don't like, but we're going to talk about those, right? So you saw an example of a photo on a resume a couple slides ago, and we talked about that it lacked a little bit of professionalism. Ibrahim's photo is professional, but it's not necessarily required for this type of job. I would say, like for me, I don't mind the photo being there, but I would rather a headshot, like something that's from the head up, than to have this long photo with him kind of oddly in the frame, right? The other thing that I would say is that the photo of him is actually too dark for the document that it's inside of. So there's a lot of little critiques that I would be giving this one. And so that would make me ask, visually speaking, like, you're a graphic designer, why didn't you catch that? All right, so those are the kind of things that I would be looking at. Now, while Ibrahim's resume is super easy to read, there's some obvious typos and errors. So it seems that this is a pre-formatted template that he created his resume from, except he forgot to go back and fill it in. So, there are great resume templates out there. Google has some. We'll go through those in a minute. But when you get a template, you gotta be sure to fill it in with your own info. So this one would get tossed out because I instantly recognize lorem ipsum as filler for websites and website design. Now, he might have thought that this was a good way to show that he knows how to fill in text. Maybe that's what this was. I don't know. But when I see it, I see somebody who cheated and, he used somebody else's template to get him going and forgot to fill it out. So that's a couple of different ways to look at what I'm seeing that I'm just making judgments on and have a real idea of what happened. But this is how the resume process goes and the resume review process. All right. Make sure that you are double and triple checking your resume for any errors. Better still, get a friend to review your resume. Sometimes it can be an interesting time when other people review your resume, but they can help you to make it better. So make that happen. All right, so designing your resume might be a little bit intimidating. You may not have design skills like Ibrahim, or perhaps you don't feel like you're comfortable in formatting these digital documents yet. Well, fortunately for you, you don't need design skills to create a professional resume. You can choose from any number of pre-built Google resume templates that have already been done for you. These templates are like a pattern that you can use as a guide. And so if you've been here in our other courses, you know that. They provide some decent elements and some formatting that you can use as a starting point for your projects. They help you to keep your font sizes and your styles all consistent throughout your documentation. Google Docs provides free professional resume templates to help get you started. The layout, the fonts, and the colors are different for each template, but they all contain the same basic info that you're going to need for a resume. That includes your contact information, your skills, your experience, your education, as well as accomplishments or projects that you've completed. After you select the template, you can customize that document from there. Okay? So to access the templates, make sure you're signed into your Google account and then go to drive.google.com. Okay, drive.google.com. You're also going to be able to go to the upper right-hand corner and click on the app screen or the app icon, and then open up Google Drive from there. All right. All right. So once we're in the Drive, so you've logged in and you're here. So just quick tip, if you're watching this, you're going to be able to pause. If you're with us live, you're not able to pause, but that's okay. Just keep going. Take your time and sign in. You're going to sign into your Google account. If you do not already have a Google account, stop this video and go create one. Okay, so you're going to be able to open that up. Once you're in the Drive, you're going to click on New up at the top, and then click Google Docs, and then click that little arrow to the right, and it'll open up another menu that lets you choose a template. Okay, so now the template selector is going to come up, and now you're going to see that you're able to actually choose a template, right? So pick one that you like. So search for the resumes and pick a resume that you like. After the workshop, go through all those templates and see which one might actually work best for the situation that you're in, for the type of activity that you're in. Some of the templates might lead themselves better for specific industries, for specific purposes, or maybe you just want to do like a totally different resume style just to test things out and see how it works. We won't go into each one of these today, but please do make sure that you go out and explore these templates. And if you have a resume, it's going to need to have at least the following fields. So first of all, your name. Gotta have your name. You're going to want to make sure your education's in there, your contact information's on there, your skills, and also your work experience. Now that we've addressed formatting and your first impressions, let's talk about the next strategy that you can use to make your resume more professional. How do you highlight your skills and your accomplishments? Notice that this says highlight. We're not saying list out. We're saying highlight. How do you highlight? That means you don't need to include everything. Right. So what does that mean? Let's dive into that a little bit more. So first of all, your resume is not a comprehensive list of all the jobs that you've ever had. It is not a list of all the things you've ever been involved in for the last 20, 30, 90 decades. Your goal is to showcase your skills and your accomplishments, the things that you have that will make the employer want to call you for an interview. You can convince them that you're a good fit based on the information you put on this resume. They don't need to know everything that you've ever done in order for you to have accomplished that. Hiring managers absolutely do need to see your skills and your accomplishments that are most relevant to the job that you're applying for. They'll likely know what the most recent experience you have. They'll want to know what that is, so make sure that it's first. Don't be afraid to eliminate jobs from your resume that are not relevant to the one that you're applying for. Your work experience list does not need to be exhaustive. It needs to highlight your skills and your accomplishments that you have that are relevant to the job you're applying for. But I'm going to give you a note on that. So we're going to talk about this in a second, but you want to make sure that if you're removing jobs, like you at least account for them in some kind of way. Because if you don't account for them, it looks like you have like this big, huge gap in your resume. If you've done other activities like part-time jobs or volunteer jobs, anything that's closely related to the job that you're applying for, and you've used that information would be useful, put it on there. Make sure that it's there. If you're starting a new career and perhaps you haven't worked in this field before, examine all the job experience that you do have and see how you can correlate it. What's your why? Why are you applying for this job? And then go from there. Like, oh, well, I was a healthcare coordinator, and then, I started doing, medical records. And after that, I saw how databases worked. And eventually I became a SQL developer. So now I want to put my skills together to be a SQL developer. Tell that story in chronological order on your resume. All right. Okay, so take a minute. Let's practice. We're going to decide which opportunities you want to include on your resume and which ones you should not. Okay. Imagine you're going to be applying for a sales representative position that we talked about earlier. Think way back, because that was a long time ago. Think about the work experience that you have. We're going to say that your work experience is over on the left, and you've been a waiter or someone on the wait staff. You've been a cashier. You've been a volunteer. You've had bank teller experience, perhaps some babysitting, and some freelance blogging. Now take a few minutes and think about each of these positions. In the comment box, tell me which jobs you would include, why or why not. Better yet, just tell me which ones you would not include and why. If you are working, it might be helpful to consider which special projects or measurable details you might include from those positions to show that past experience is relevant to the job you're applying for. Okay, so if you guys did that, let me check here really, really quickly. Hey, oh, wow. Okay, so we've got some great comments, and we are going to keep on going. You guys, thank you for being here, and thank you for looking out. And then think about, we're going to go through the list. So which jobs would you have included, and which ones did you leave off? Your thoughts might be different than what's listed here, and that's all right, because everybody's different. We all have different perspectives, and we're all going for different job objectives. So let's talk about some of the skills that we would have pulled from each of these positions, and then let's talk about how we would include them on your resume for the sales representative position. For wait staff, or for a waiter or waitress, you would have been tasked with upselling the customers that you were waiting on. You would have learned how to handle stressful situations, and you'd be able to tell them everything about the add-ons or dessert menu that would suggest specific accompaniments to their meals. So those are all upsell activities. So you got to figure out a fun way to sell what you're doing to make it relevant to what you want to do, right? So as a cashier, you engaged with customers for a majority of your workday. And that's important. So you're a people person, and now I know that. Perhaps you raised funds as a part of your volunteer work. This experience might be viewed to that of a salesperson, right? A sales representative. As a teller, you may have had to learn details of every product or every bank or every service that the bank offered. This is technically a skill. So you were able to know your catalog of services and be able to suggest them. That's called suggestive selling. A babysitting job shows responsibility, and it also shows that you're a good multitasker. It also shows that you know how to handle children. And so perhaps that's a skill needed in the environment you're going to be selling with. Freelance blogging work is something that you've required that you negotiate rates for your work. And then those kind of negotiation skills, like that's super important in any kind of sales role. I'm telling you. All right. So what you should or should not include in your resume is entirely subjective. Some people may have chosen to include babysitting. Others just thought it didn't apply. This all depends on you and the skills that you have, as well as the ones that you want to showcase. How good you are at doing that is going to mean the difference between getting an interview and not. If you decide not to include some of those jobs or experiences, you could save them and mention them at an interview, or even if you do a cover letter. I can tell you that I've had one cover letter out of the 700 or so different candidates that I've reviewed for some of these positions. If you can make a connection to the job you're applying for, or you just might leave them out entirely if you can't, okay? The main point of this exercise is to show that you can choose to include or exclude any of them. You don't have to do either or. What is key is that you describe the position and you show the skills that you have acquired from that position that are relevant to what you want to do. Any of these can be included in that sales representative's resume. If you highlight applicable skills like responsibility, punctuality, customer service, professional attitude, and dependable attendance, you can score that interview. Any of them could have been excluded, though. So if you've been in the workforce for a long time, you may not need to make transitions like that. You might have more professional work that's going to cover everything that you wanted to do. And you don't need to mention experiences like babysitting because you've got the professional background to back it up. All right, so what about gaps? Let's talk about gaps in your resume. So it happens, right? Many people have to take time off of work for any variety of reasons, including caring for loved ones or furthering their own education. Perhaps it was, due to the economy, they lost work, or they were transitioning from one to another. They wanted to go to school, they had a family. If you have a gap in your work history for any reason, whether it's months or years, you may be able to highlight the education or volunteer work that you did during that time. You can also describe the experience and the skills that you acquired during that time. So what did you do? Okay. If you managed a household, you learned skills. If you learned a new language because you were out touring the world, you did that and you toured the world. You're exposed to different cultures and different ways of doing things. So that's a leg up if you think about it. Anything else may show your growth in the time that you were off, right? Another possibility is to use something that's called a functional resume. So a functional resume is like the one that we're seeing here. Okay, so in a functional resume, you're able to organize your employment history by the experience and the skills that you have rather than chronologically by time order. You can use a functional experience resume if your experience comes from short-term jobs or from contract work. It's just better because you have a broader range of things that you actually do. You can still include your work history, but in a functional resume, it's going to be grouped together and then de-emphasized, right? So hiring managers focus on your experience and your skills, and you're drawing their attention to that. Now listen, no matter what format of resume you're choosing, you should include your continuing education training, any certifications that you've acquired, any additional coursework that you took on as a part of higher learning or earning that certificate online, workshops like this one. They're going to be able to be put on your resume and included as a way that you have done what? Professionally developed yourself. So you can even add on a professional development segment to your resume. Just be sure that if you include it, it adds value. You want to make sure that it adds value, all right? Include the basic details for each course or each program that you completed. Add in the name of the sponsoring school or the organization, the title of the course or the program, and then the date of your completion. And you can even discuss a little bit about that during your interview because you're going to land the interview. All right. So for example, if you've taken this course, then you could say that you took the Black Multiverse and Grow with Google Improving Your Resume course. And maybe that will draw some attention to the fact that now You are a resume writer, right? So those things can go hand in hand. You could also put that you've participated in the Black Multiverse Google Skill Up program or the Google Basics program. So either way, and if you want to use me as a reference, as long as you are registered and you're somebody that I can validate has been here, I will definitely give out that recommendation and confirmation of attendance. Here's another way to use your digital tools that are going to help you to organize information for your resume. Use your Google Docs to make a running list of things that you consider and you might want to put underneath work experience, okay? That could include part-time jobs, full-time jobs, any side work that you've done around the neighborhood or clubs, organizations that you've participated in, volunteer work, amongst other things, right? You can update your document at any time from any device that's connected anywhere on the internet. That's your Google Doc, okay? When you write or you're updating your resume, you don't have to spend a whole lot of time thinking about what you did in the past. You're going to have a whole list of that stuff right there, readily available. So all you got to learn how to do is copy and paste, and then manipulate the lines a little bit. Okay, so now we have a third strategy. Let's talk about that. Maybe you have a whole lot of things to include in your resume, but you don't know which ones to emphasize. How do you make those connections, and how do you show the employer that you are the right fit for the job? Using specific examples and some measurable details in those descriptions of your work experience are going to show what you've achieved and how you've accomplished what you have. This is what we call showing impact. Impact. It's such an important term. What impact can you have by joining my organization? Specifically, what have you done and how has it impacted your coworkers, your team, or the company? Lots of people will have words like innovative, organized, efficient, leader, effective communicator. All of that's going to be on the resume, but how can you show that you actually did this instead of just using those phrases? So one way is for you to use some specific examples from your previous experience. Describe specific projects that you worked on. Think about improvements that you made. Did you develop some processes, or did you attain some goals that were set? Were you awarded any kind of accolades? So describe the quality of the work that you've done in the past. Show how it relates to how you could improve for the next employer at your new job. Okay, so those are specific examples. Now we have measurable details. So whenever it's possible to quantify the work that you did, you should. For example, you may say that I increased sales. Okay, well, so what does that mean? Did you increase sales from 1 widget to 2 widgets per month? Or did you increase 1 widget to 1 million widgets? Show the numbers whenever it's possible. So I can truly say I have completed over 400 end-to-end implementations as an implementation consultant. And so that is a history of things that I have collected and acquired throughout my work life. And so I know that for a fact. And so you'll see it, and I put that everywhere. I make sure that my information corresponds. There is also a great way to add any awards or recognitions that you may have received. So make sure that you're putting that there. Also show other people how you view your own accomplishments. So you might be like super fantastic, but like you have this way of looking at things that it's just not highlighting that. So the way that you state what you've done shows people your outlook. Okay, so let's put this into practice. We're going to do another challenge. I'm going to show you some examples of work experience. And these are things you might include on your resume. And for each one, I want you to think about it, okay? Think about each of these descriptions. How much do they make you stand out? And how could you phrase them differently? Do they make Sense, are they more tangible? Do they use specific examples? And are they measuring your details? Once you look at them, try to rewrite it and use at least one of these descriptions on a piece of paper or in your digital documents. It's okay to make up some examples if you don't have really good ones, okay? So give yourself a minute or two and test it out. So instead of saying, for team lead of a big box store from 2017 to 2019, this person bulleted out, they managed a team, they trained new employees, they ran meetings effectively, and they set more than sales targets. Or they sold more than sales targets. So how could you rephrase that and make yourself stand out? Think about that. All right. Okay, let's go on. Okay, so this is just one example of what your resume might look like once you've added those measurable details, right? So instead of you managed a team, you get really specific. I managed a team of 8 employees from new hires to 15-year company members. You might say that you trained 15 employees in 2 years. Alternatively, you could specify that you ran weekly team meetings and maybe perhaps 20 people attended regularly. You can be specific about the sales targets that you exceeded, and you could say that you exceeded them by 0.5%. But note that when you're using numbers, you got to make sure that they're right? So first of all, if there's verifiable information about that, you don't want to get caught saying the wrong thing. And then also, you need to know that if you're going to say something like, I exceeded my goal by 0.5%, know that that's very different than saying you exceeded it by 20%, right? Which one's better? All right, adding specific examples and measurable details gives your employers an idea of just how valuable you are as an employee. Using numbers like this whenever is possible will help to fully showcase your accomplishments. It also makes me think, and just thinking about, kind of the resumes that I've had to review here lately, it helps me to know that you know how to phrase things and you know how to put the company's best foot forward because you're doing it for yourself, right? All right, let's try one more example. This time, this is volunteer experience. So how can we take these specific statements and make them a little bit more measurable and make them something that stands out a little bit more with better detail? So instead of saying that we served meals to shelter residents and that we organized holiday events, we could say that we served meals to over 200 shelter residents every other week for 6 months, and that we worked with the director to coordinate the holiday party, as well as obtained more than $2,000 to fund the party, etc. So those are ways that you can get really, really specific and provide an extra level of detail and information to help someone make a decision about you. Just another side note on this, because we're not going to go over it. When I'm looking at this kind of stuff, I also have my big picture in mind. So I am the CEO of a company. I'm looking for people to help me build out what I'm building, right? And so that's what my staff is going to be. They're people who are helping me to build and expand the vision. When I'm thinking about or I'm reviewing resumes for a specific position, if I see something that jumps off the page at me as a good fit for something else, I schedule that person for an interview, because they may come in to this position that I have open right now, but in my mind, I've already got them into another position where they're fulfilling a need that I know I have in the organization, but maybe I'm not to that point in my roadmap, or maybe I'm just not, I'm kind of testing it out, there's all sorts of different ways that this can go right for you if you do this the right way. All right, so let's look at transferable skills. Well, what does that mean? All my skills are transferable. They go with me, right? No. You can apply some specific examples and measurable details to a resume if you're shifting your career path within your industry, right? So if you're starting something totally new, which so many people are doing, you're pivoting. That's what we call transferable skills. So what skills can you take with you that are relevant to what you're doing and where you've come from, right? Organization and communication and problem solving. These are all skills that are going to be necessary in pretty much everything you do. In your resume, you can make a case that even if you haven't worked in the industry before, you may have already developed these skills. And so you're not somebody that's coming in at the entry level point, even though you're just switching gears to this industry. So let's say that you decide to pursue a career in IT. So you're a support technician, right? We got positions for that too. So you're a support technician. Maybe you have experience working in a service industry for a beauty salon. Well, wait a minute. IT and beauty salon, that ain't the same thing. Or is it? Think about the skills that you've used in your job that you can include in your resume to show that you have some qualifications despite having no IT experience at all. You had to manage your daily tasks, which show that you can plan and you can organize a schedule. You dealt with customers all day long who had different needs. So both were actively listening and actively multitasking in your skill sets. You had to do that, right? If you're a managerial candidate or if you have managerial experience, those skills transition into every role that would be underneath you as a manager. So you know how to manage up, right? Or you should know how to manage up. When you're adding these skills to your resume, try to include as many specific and measurable details as possible to emphasize how your previous profession can easily translate to your new one. When you write about your skills, use the job posting as a reference because that's what they're looking for. Give them what they're looking for. They're looking for you, right? If the posting is talking about clients' work and you're being referred to the people who visited to you as a salon, you might be able to correlate that to the clients that you're going to be supporting in your IT profession. So again, if you ever had to deal with clients who were irate or who had an unprofessional type of way about them, or you help people with hardware, then maybe that's relevant from your beauty experience in some kind of way. Try to find those correlations, match them up, and then you'll be in a better position to succeed. We've gone over a lot. Okay, so we talked about professional formatting. We talked about highlighting your skills and your accomplishments. And we talked about citing some specific examples and measurable details to make those accomplishments shine. Now, our last strategy is going to be to tailor your resume for every job you're applying to. I'm exhausted already. Let's talk about how we can do this. All right, so we discussed how businesses use screening or applicant tracking software to narrow down the list of candidates before a manager ever gets to them. These programs can scan your resume for keywords that are in the job description. But if those words don't appear on your resume, or if those skills that you're highlighting don't match the job description, guess what? Neither do you. The program is just going to decide that you're not a good fit for the job. If the employer is not using applicant tracking software, then people are definitely going to be scanning your resume for things that pop and things that stick out to them as relevant to what they're looking for. When you're creating a resume for a particular type of job, you should incorporate as many of the keywords in your past experience and work history as possible. When you describe your past experience using the same terms that the employer used in the job description, you'll have a better chance of passing through that screening software if the company is using it. And you'll have a better chance to stand out to the hiring manager. And this will show that you paid close attention to the qualities that they want. I feel so different about this. Like, I can't stand when you take my my job description and you literally copy it into your resume. So no, that's not what we're saying. We don't actually want you to do that. We want you to take keywords, okay? So keywords, and put them into your job description so that you get through the reader. But again, this is where researching can help, because if you are researching, then you may know if they're using a specific type of software. If you're a technical person, you might even come to understand what that type of software is looking for. And then you'll understand kind of what gets you weighted in the rating and what doesn't. There's no way you're going to be able to pinpoint this all the way around, but you can definitely get yourself in the door. All right, pay close attention to action verbs that are used in the job description. What are you actually going to be doing if you get the job? So make sure you actually want the job, first of all, before you apply for it, because, it's definitely a thing and you may be able to get a job, but you might not want to have it. And then you're just wasting your time and you're wasting everybody else's time too. So you don't want to do that. So make sure that you're able that you want the job first. All right. So look at the characteristics that are here. What stands out to you in this job description? Think about the words that you would select to be noted as a potential candidate for this job. All right, so now we're going to do something cool. So now all the words that are highlighted are words that the ATS reader might pick up on. Okay, so you might include words like responsible, motivated, those action words. For these, you're going to want to include specific experiences that can illustrate how you actually were using or performing those actions. Here's some words that you could use that will help get your resume in the door for this specific position. All right, so these action words that are in the job description can help you shape the list of skills that you have for each job, and then to add and include measurable activities from your past work experiences. All right, so that was it. So let's review. Today we were talking about how to improve your resume with some practical strategies and how to use some input from Google to help you shape your resume and to help you shape your job search. Let's review those strategies. All right, so number one, you're going to want to choose a professional format for your resume. You're looking for balance, and you're looking for a template. If you are using a template, you're looking for a template that is not going to get your resume kicked out. You're going to want something that has good formatting. You're going to want something that has good formatting. You're going to want something that is easy to read and has enough white space to allow your words to be seen and your resume to actually stand out. You're going to want to highlight your skills and your experience. Include only your most relevant and your recent experiences. Cite specific examples with measurable details. Clearly and completely explain your achievements and your skills rather than just mentioning them, okay? Finally, you want to tailor your resume to the job that you want. Use words from the job description to help impress your screening programs and your future employers. You can use these strategies as a checklist for revising your own resume, okay? Take a few minutes to think about what strategies seem the most useful to you. There's a whole bunch of other digital tools that'll help you with your job application process. We've reviewed resume templates. They can help lighten the load when it comes to developing and designing a professional looking resume. We also mentioned things like Google Docs to help you keep a record of your experiences. In previous sessions, we talked about using Google Sheets to help you track and actually go through your to track all the different activities that you do during the actual resume cycle, and to keep track of where you are in the application process. And so that is called Google Sheets. All right. So as you are applying for different jobs, or you're looking to find out about positions that you can apply to, you can track all of those on a spreadsheet. We went through this in one of our very first sessions. It was called Google Basics, and we talked about Google Docs and Google Sheets. So if you don't know how to use Google Sheets, go ahead and watch that video, and I'll put a link here so that you can tap into the video. As you're applying for different jobs, you can use the spreadsheet that's similar to this one to help you to see different variations of the resume that you submitted, and then also where you are in the application process. So haven't started, submitted. You can also put things like scheduled an interview or sent a thank you note. Finally, you could create a digital portfolio in Google Slides like this one. So, maybe it's appropriate for the industry that you're in to have an example of what you do. And sometimes it's really cool to have this available for a recruiter. Sometimes it's too much to include it in an actual resume. So you can actually put a link to your portfolio and have it pop out as a Google slide deck, right? So that's really cool. One thing that actually does happen, and this I'm guilty of as an interviewer or resume reviewer, someone who's hiring manager. One thing that I do that I probably shouldn't is if I cannot read your resume. So a lot of times, there's websites like Indeed. And if you have a resume and on Indeed, on the back end of Indeed, we can't see that resume, I do not download anything to my computer that I don't trust. And so I don't trust resumes that are out there in that format. So if your resume isn't in a typical format, like a PDF or a doc, the Indeed reader cannot read it, and so it forces you to download it. I don't download those. So that means that candidate does not get reviewed because I have no way of seeing what their actual resume is. So be mindful of things like that. Use the standard. Stop trying to be cool. Use the standards that are out there, especially when you're up against ATS readers and people who are cautious about the things that they're downloading. Okay. But you can always include a link to a Google Sheet, right? Or a Google Doc or something else. And then that recruiter can then decide if they want to take a deeper dive into you. One other thing that you're going to want to do is to set up a portfolio website. And you can do this anyway, but it's something that just shows who you are. And so if you have a link that they can actually go out to, those links to your portfolio can actually be added in there. And then again, that's a way to see like, oh, is this company really interested in me? They just downloaded this. And then maybe you add in a whole workflow or work routine behind the scenes that sends off a letter or follows up with them automatically. So that's a little bit more technical. You might not have time or space or bandwidth to even think about things like that, but those are options for sure. All right. Whew, we've covered a lot. So we talked about resume templates. We talked about digital tips and strategies for being more effective in your resume search. We reviewed how to move forward with some of the tips that we've given you. Now I'm going to show you what you can do next. So what's next? You're going to review the possible templates in your Google Docs. You're going to want to find one that works for you. Go ahead and update your current resume and find places that you can increase your value to your employer, add in the specific examples and then the measurable details. And then you're also going to want to create a list of experiences that you can use to tailor your resume for each one that you're sending off. Okay. Now let's talk about resources as we wind down. So today's session is brought to you by Black Multiverse Enterprises together with Grow with Google. If you enjoyed these video sessions, I encourage you to subscribe to Black Multiverse. So first of all, go out to our YouTube and you can find us at youtube.com/@Black Multiverse and subscribe. You can also go to blackmultiverse.live and subscribe. Both of those are going to take you right on over to our YouTube page. But we do want you to also hang out with Google. So go over to youtube.com and do /grow with Google. Okay. That's going to take you to their Google site, and they publish a brand new video every Thursday, just like we do. So Black Multiverse is doing this every Tuesday and Thursday. Google publishes a new video every Thursday. So there's going to be topics from everything from how to grow your skills, how to advance and enhance your career, and then also tips and tools for your strong business. If you are looking to start a new career, so check this out. Y'all, the world is changing. Yes, Ivy Leagues are still out there, but atypical education is becoming a thing. That is the norm. So if you are looking to skill up, programs like this one are perfect for you. And we also have Google Career certifications. So not only does Black Multiverse Enterprises provide these skill up programs every Tuesday and Thursday, our employees also have the option to receive a Google Career certification. And so that is where you actually go through a specific track and you learn and obtain certification from Google, from Coursera, to actually progress in your field. The fields that are available, if you don't perhaps come to work at Black Multiverse, you can still earn a Google Career certification. Just go out to grow.google. And then go to certificates. And you'll be able to see what certificates are available. Right now, they are IT support, project management, UX design, data analytics, digital marketing and e-commerce. And if you are a member of the Black Multiverse employee team or staff, you are also eligible for IT automation with Python. So businesses can also take advantage of this. So it's not just my business that got this award. Businesses can also take advantage of this for workforce training. So if you want to skill up your employees, check it out. Grow with Google is an initiative that is out here to help people prepare for work, to find jobs, and to grow their businesses. Job seekers can grow their skills in order to find new jobs, as well as to advance in their careers. Teachers can learn how to put the latest technology to work inside and outside of the classroom. Small business owners can help build their online presence as well as find new customers. Startups can learn how to get their ideas and the exposure that they need to succeed. And developers can sharpen their skills and master new ones. If you want to learn more, go out to growwithgoogle.com. If you are interested in becoming an employee with Black Multiverse or checking out some of the positions that we have available, I highly recommend that you reach out to us at careers@blackmultiverse.io. So not .com, but .io, okay? So we are wrapping up for the day. I want to thank everybody who is here, everyone who's popped in. We see you guys in the comments. I appreciate you for being here. I hope today was helpful to you along your career journey, along the journey to achieve whatever dreams you are trying to. I am thankful for our networks and for everyone who is supporting us throughout this whole journey. It's been great. Again, we are a very proud Grow with Google partner. We achieved gold status here in October, and so we will be providing these programs throughout the rest of the year. So from now until December 31st, every Tuesday and Thursday. You can find us right here on blackmultiverse.live, Blackverse TV, as well as the Black Business Network and Pod TV, Hulu, Roku, and any number of our other locations that we are distributed at, thanks to Max Distro. So, you guys, we're gonna wrap it up here. I want to again say thank you to all of our sponsors. And speaking of education, man, one of our sponsors is the EE Testing Center out in Los Angeles. So if you are in Los Angeles and you need a proctored exam issued, if you need to take a Pearson exam, a VUE exam, please check in with the EE Testing Center and tell them Technical sent you. And so we are very grateful for their support as well. And so this is their logo. Please do tap into their phone number, which you will see on the next screen. All right, you guys, man. So today has been great. I will see everyone back here on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will see you once again on Clubhouse at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you are looking to be notified of these courses as we're having them, please tap in with me. You can reach out. You can sign up at Black Multiverse /Skill Up. And that is going to be available to you to go ahead and sign up, and you'll get the emails from my team as they are sending them out every week. So we usually send those out on Sunday nights. Okay. So thank you to the Clubhouse family. I see y'all. It is good to have you guys here. And we're going to go ahead and close things out with a quick video, and then oh wait, one more word from our sponsors really quick, and then a quick video.